Everything is connected. Everyone is connected. It's one of the reasons we're here today. My name is Stephanie Ruhle. I'm the managing editor of Morning Anchor at Bloomberg TV, and I'm actually playing hooky today. I should be on television right now, but how could I miss the opportunity to be with these extraordinary women? And exactly what you just saw is what we're going to talk about, the power of technology and how the connected world is changing the way we work, we live, we play. By 2020, there will be 50 billion products that connect us in some way. It's a game changer. CEO of Cisco, John Chambers, says it will be a $19 billion industry. So we're going to take this Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica idea and bring it down to earth with these three very, very special women. I'd like to introduce Jeannine Sargent. She's the president of innovation at Flextronics, an innovative technology and supply chain company. Dr. Cynthia Breazeal, she's a professor of media, arts, and sciences at the MIT Media Lab, and she is also the founder and chief scientist of Jibo. And Padmasree Warrior, she's the chief technology officer at Cisco. She's an artist, and she is a kick-ass tweeter. She's got like Ashton Kutcher kind of following. So ladies, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to just talk about what the connected world means. You know, it is in many thoughts. We've all seen Star Wars and WALL-E and the Jetsons and this idea that these flying cars and it's going to be this futuristic world, but there's also unintended consequences because when you see those movies, it seems that the human spirit is gone. So I'd love to get an idea from you of what this all means for humanity.
So first of all, thank you. It's great to be here. And let me just, before I get to that question, say that it's been an inspirational couple of days. And as a technologist, having an opportunity to understand better what's happening in the world, I guess I just want to say that there is a way for us to make an impact. And that impact is for us to encourage and support women and girls in terms of studying science and math. It's an incredible opportunity. Science and math and understanding technology as a foundation that will empower and enable you to be independent, choose your own path, and really have an impact on the world. And if you talk about a smarter and connected world and a more sustainable world, we think about having the ability to share this information in a form factor that is digestible, understandable, not only to ourselves in a technical environment, but also children and the elderly. So I think you talk about humanity. We've seen many cases in emerging markets and discussions we've had over the last couple of days. And I think the ability to have a connected capability, for example, in consumer health, is in the process of revolutionizing how we're going to think about healthcare, but also bring the capability, as Clickmedics was doing, not only in terms of photography, but real-time sensing, to be able to wear essentially a Band-Aid of a wearable computer, to be able to send real-time diagnostics and information about yourself to your doctors and to other colleagues to be able to diagnose and understand will change the way we live.
Cynthia, what about the fear that we're entering into a sci-fi world, and it seems that though we're going to be connected, it actually feels disconnected?
So I want to first echo, of course, what has been spoken about. I think when we as women create technology, we do it because we want to make the world a better place. We want to help people. And for me, my passion about creating technology is, if I didn't have technology, I could help the people around me within reach, but with technology, I could potentially help the world, right? So I think that's the attitude with which we have to think about technology. We think about the unintended consequences or the loss of humanity. I think, technology is neither good nor evil, right? It's how we use technology, how it empowers us to do what we value, what we decide to do with it. And I think it will always be a conversation we need to have as a society about how we want to teach our children how to use technology, how we want to employ technology, to make sure that it supports our human values. But I also think that we need to approach this with humility as well. When we see that there are unintended consequences, that we can challenge ourselves to elevate our game and say, we can do better. We can learn from what we're seeing, the use of technology today, the affordances that it gives us, that it may be empowering or may be falling short. And then we can iterate and we can design something better. And it's with that attitude that I create these social robots because I do feel that right now when we engage with our technologies, especially our personal devices, they're really designed for this kind of portal into the digital world, right? So we kind of focus our attention on it. We kind of shut the people out around us in order to engage with it. And I like to think about, what if you flip that, right? So what does robotics do? It's almost the converse. So if you can take the digital world and bring it out into the world of people, and if you can create a technology that communicates with us, that supports the way we want to communicate, the way we want to interact, a way that more holistically supports the human experience, well, that's a very different kind of technology. And through the research that I've done in my lab and through research that other people have done across the world with these kinds of social robots that really are inspired by Star Wars, it really is this almost helpful companion technology versus a tool sort of paradigm. What we find is, not surprisingly, given that we as human beings, the way that we think, we decide, we learn, it's not just about our cognitive capacities, right? We're profoundly social, we're profoundly emotional, we're profoundly physical as well. When you can create a technology that actually supports a more holistic human experience, lo and behold, we are more successful. We're allowed to engage with it more deeply, apply more of our humanity into it, experience more of our humanity, stay more in our humanity, because we're staying in our world rather than focusing ourselves in a digital world. So there's a universe of opportunity out there for thinking about new kinds of technology that really do support our human values and help empower us to be the people who we aspire to be. And that's why I think all of us are here today on the panel. We believe that passionately.
Right.
Padmasree?
So I think technology definitely is an enabler. I think to me, it serves two purposes, right? Technology is all about scaling things. Whereas I think about art, and I'm an artist as well, I paint. Art is very personal and evokes emotion. And I think the future is really going to be, how do we bring these two worlds together? If you think about how quickly technology is really touching all of us, two things are happening. It's the scale. You mentioned that by 2020, our research says we'll have 50 billion connected devices. That number, just to put it in perspective, today is about 10 billion. And in 1984, if you were using technology at the time, that number was 1,000 devices. So it's really increased in a dramatic way. But more important than that is that our estimate is only about 0.6% of what we can connect is connected today. So 99.4% of the world, objects and people are still unconnected. So we talk about, imagine the world when 99% of our physical world wakes up and is intelligent. I think it really is profound to think about that. But the point is, how do we make this foundation of technology, which is all about scaling? And technology is the only way we can communicate with millions and millions of people all over the world. Without technology, we would be very isolated as human beings. So I think coming back to what does humanity mean, it is about sharing, it's about expressing, it's about knowing what's going on, it's being much more aware. Having said that, I think what we do need to work on, all of us as technologists, is to make technology be very seamless and be part of our humanity versus something that's abstract and separate. And that's a very complex thing to do. We just heard about in the earlier panel about how the brain works and how young people, they talked about how young people think about technology. And our research says that college students, 2/3 of college graduates, and this is global data, would rather have access to the internet than have a car. And so it is really the notion of how embedded this is going to become in all our future. That's fascinating. And also, we estimate, you mentioned 19 billion, it's actually $19 trillion of value in all our businesses, no matter which industry we're in, media, education, healthcare, manufacturing, retail. All of these industries, there's still $19 trillion of value that is as yet untapped, because many of the businesses today are not yet on the digital platform. And so that's the potential in front of all of us.
Could there be, when I think about the elements of surprise or the value in human error, we could lose that. Everyone talks about the importance of big data and how valuable it is. So we take all this data we know about ourselves, and through that we know this is what I should eat, this is who I should date, this is what my job should be, here's the sport I should play. Well, it sort of takes away the art of the human error, stumbling onto something that might end up being your life's passion. How do we keep that in our lives while at the same time embracing and maximizing all this great information we have?
So I think it's selective, right? Human error is beautiful when it is perceived in some ways where it's more sensual or artistic. But human error costs lives. If you look at autonomous cars or self-driving cars, most of the accidents that happen today are in driving are human error. And so many people lose lives because someone has made a mistake running a red light or going faster than they should. Whereas if it's a computer driving, and in the future, this is not that far away, by the way, many companies are already working on autonomous cars. Computers know and can process information much better. So imagine a future where cars can talk to themselves and will actually know that if I get too close, I'm going to have a collision and won't let you. And there are technologies today where a seatbelt will keep track of your heart rate and vibrate to wake you up if you're tired and if you're falling asleep at the wheel. So I think we need to selectively apply technology where human error can cost lives, and apply technology where human error can minimize lowering a lifestyle that people have, right? So I think we have to be careful about how we do that and not sacrifice the creativity that, as human beings, we bring to technology. But I think there is a lot of cases where human error actually is very detrimental that technology can absolutely help with.
I was going to say, I don't think about it as being restrictive or prescriptive necessarily. I think about it as giving us an opportunity or a platform. So rather than just data, think about the next evolution to information. And that information allows us to access intelligence and to share intelligence across a broad spectrum and to have the ability to choose what we want and understand topics that, frankly, may have not been either regionally or topically accessible to us. So whether we're in an emerging market or in downtown New York City, if we want to understand a topic or become knowledgeable enough to make an informed decision, if we integrate the technology into a seamless form factor, I think it actually enriches and elevates us and actually gives us more freedom of choice. And I think it's that freedom of choice that will help us make more intelligent decisions.
Yeah, I think the key word here is it's a partnership, right? It's not a question of having technology that ever tells us what to do. It's really about empowering us to make the right kinds of decisions that we want to make. And I think a lot of the systems that we're creating even now that have increased levels of autonomy are still being designed to think about, again, the partnership with people who are also fundamentally part of this system. And so how you can create this digital infrastructure, this other kinds of intelligence that really complements our own, I think is really important. It's not about replacing us or even competing with us, but really supplementing and enhancing what people are already so good at, which is the creativity and the inspiration and so forth. So it's really about bringing the strengths together to do something that either couldn't do alone separately. And there have been examples of that, solving very difficult problems that people alone couldn't solve it, computers alone couldn't solve it, but when you bring them together, lo and behold, the solution comes before. So I think this is the paradigm we have to really communicate and think about is the partnership aspect of it. Yeah.
Then is it sort of a cheap or easy or unfair criticism, those who say, well, in this connected world, if you walk down the street, everyone has their head in their smartphone. And when you walk into a restaurant, parents are looking at their phones and kids are looking at their phones, and it's a disgrace. But if you actually go one step deeper and think about what we're doing on our phones or our iPads or our laptops, all of us understand so much more. We're involved in so many more initiatives. When we think about our children, they know so many more people, and senior citizens who were left on their own now are connected. So are you fighting a battle from the uninformed who simply want to say, it's ruining society, it's ruining culture, when they're not actually looking at what this connected world is doing?
I think you can think about, and I think the aging population is a specific example of really how intelligence is going to change the way societies are going to age and have independence to be able to do so. So you think about whether you're in an established world here or maybe in Japan that also has an aging population, the intelligence and the sensors and information that are going to be readily accessible to let you know when it's time to take your medicine. Are you hydrated enough? Are you sleeping enough? These are all real-time environments that are going to be accessible to you, and it will actually allow you to change the way you think about living your life. And I would just say with the form factor that you have right now it is early days. Even though it feels like we're quite advanced, as we mentioned, only a portion of the world is connected. And soon we will be raising our heads and we will have human-machine interface and connectivity that you won't mention and realize. So we won't be looking down, we will be looking up, it will be on us, it will be around us in a seamless way so that it will change the conversation as well.
Cynthia, I know there's a technology that is especially important to you, Jibo. I want to just take a moment and look at a video and hopefully have you help us understand why this family robot is going to be so important and play such a role. Let's take a look.
Absolutely.
Jibo, take the picture.
Excuse me, Anne?
Yes, Jibo.
Melissa just sent a reminder that she's picking you up in half an hour to go grocery shopping.
Thanks, Jibo.
Let me in, or else I'll... And I'll... And I'll blow your house in.
Hey, where'd you go? There you are.
Check out my turkey dinner, Mom.
I wish you wouldn't eat that.
Hey, they make turkey pizza? I want turkey pizza. Shh. Good night, Jibo.
I didn't know Jibo or turkey pizza existed. It's like a learning experience.
So you can probably tell I was very inspired by Star Wars when I was a child. No, I do think, I mean, speaking to your point about, we live in this time now, we have these devices that we put our noses in it and, our friends and family are kind of put to the side until we're done, and the dehumanization we've heard communicated, criticized about technology. It really is, we want both. We want the human connection. We want to stay in the human experience. We want to keep our heads up, looking at each other and being part of the human experience. But we also want access to the information because that is empowering. And so, I think the question is, how can we have both? And in many ways, the reason why I came up with this idea of social robotics and Jibo in particular is it's one way of really bringing high touch, which you've talked about, to high tech, where because Jibo is a co-present, socially expressive technology, it brings back the group dynamic. It brings back the face-to-face. It doesn't require you to be focused on just it. It can be a community device. So I think when you think about the family dynamic in particular, it's a much more inclusive, much warmer sort of experience with technology. And the important idea about Jibo that we have learned about the proliferation of mobile devices as well, and robotics is starting to think in these ways too, is it's a platform, it's an open platform. So now developers all over the world can expand the skill set, you saw some here on the movie here, but expand it where it's really the creativity of people all around, thinking about how might this technology be able to help you learn something, or help me stay healthier, or help me connect and help care for my aging parent who lives a state away. All of these things are possible with these kinds of technologies, and Jibo is very much about that. It's really about supporting what's really important to the family as an intergenerational device that, again, feels much more like part of the group than part of the stuff, and in that it allows us to experience our humanity and our connection as we engage with it and as we engage with others. So it's a completely different paradigm, I think, with how we think about technology in our lives today as these personal, individual devices.
Padmasree, income inequality is such an important subject right now. When many of us think about technology, extraordinary family robots, connecting with senior citizens, giving kids opportunities, many of us worry that all of this is for rich people, it's for educated people, and it is only going to make the divide worse. How do you address this?
I think it's quite the opposite. One thing about technology is, and if you work in the technology area, you know this, there's something called a learning curve, and which basically means the cost of anything comes down with time as people start to use this. This is true for computing power. Computers, when I went to school, used to cost a lot more. Now all of us carry one in our pocket. The thing that we carry in our hands that we stare at has more computing power than the computer I used when I was going to school. And that wasn't that long ago, by the way, I'm not that old. And so in just a few years, the cost of computing has come down, the cost of storage has come down. That's why we're able to take all the pictures we take and store it for free, essentially. Gigabits of storage is free. So the cost of technology rapidly comes down with use. The cost of sensors is very low now, and so we can kind of put sensors everywhere. So technology, I think, in a way, makes things much more accessible. It's quite the contrary. What creates the income disparity, especially here in the US, I think people have, and I live in Silicon Valley, companies that create technology are valued a lot more than companies that create physical goods. And I think this is what's happening in the Valley. The way to change that is to get more people skilled in working in technology into our workforce. There's a huge shortage of people in the tech industry, especially women. The numbers are appalling, actually. In the whole STEM fields, we graduate in the US, and globally the numbers are not that much better. About 20, anywhere from 15 to 20% women. And in computing, it's actually even worse in the computing industry, meaning people that program and deal with computers, the number is something like 12%.
Then I need to know why, because we're going to run out of time. All of you sitting up here are extraordinarily successful. You live your passion. You're making the world a better place. Take us back to when you were in school, when you decided to study what you did. What was your process? And explain to me, we know the numbers are horrible, but why are they horrible?
I think the ability for people to have access and think it's okay. I was very fortunate to be in a family that encouraged you to do whatever it was that you wanted to do. And I was always interested in mathematics. And I saw that as a way for me to be on an even stage. One of the things that I find incredible about technology is at its core, it's actually blind to gender or to ethnic or to racial biases. Because, mathematics, as they would say, is a universal language, and it allows you to actually have an equal footing. And I find the most diverse groups that I'm part of are the technology teams that really just look for the best and the brightest, because in nature, there's a natural diversity.
But when does it happen? You said you loved studying mathematics. At what age, at what year did your class go from 50% of the people in your class being girls to suddenly fading away? I have an 8-year-old son, and by far the smartest kids in his class are the girls, in math, in science. When does this shift happen, and why?
I think we talked over the last couple of days about societal norms and changes. When I went to school in my undergrad engineering course, there were 3 women, only 3 women.
Great opportunity to meet boys.
I mean, it was actually the Silicon Valley technology. Yeah, there's a great opportunity. I met my husband there. And
statistics are on your side.
They are, but it's more interesting when there's diversity. It's more interesting, and we end up with better solutions when we have diversity in the room. And I think that's why I just can't encourage enough for you to start early in terms of, preschool and elementary and grade school, really encouraging math and science, because it needs to become part of the conversation. And women are actually quite good at it, and they're wired for this. And so I think it's really important.
In addition to that, though, and I'm very passionate about this, and I grew up in India, which is, in many ways, the barriers for women studying science is not there, but where we lose a lot of women is when they start working and in colleges, even if they're interested and they get through kindergarten and high school. Because it's kind of seen as a field where you have to abandon your femininity to become successful. You have to dress like a guy, you have to act like a guy. In the tech industry especially, I think has certain stereotypes that are very alienating to women, and we need to change that. I think we need to tell women who are working in the technology industry, in the technology fields, that they truly can be themselves. Yeah. And if you want to wear high heels, that's great. You can be an amazing programmer. You don't have to be a programmer.
But did you feel, was there a point in your education where you felt I need to adopt, I need to dress like a man and be, I mean,
I
if you end up being an extraordinarily
absolutely did
successful
that.
technologist, you can actually afford the most beautiful clothes there are.
So when I started working in the semiconductor industry, making chips, so it's like a very hardcore tech industry. I'm an engineer by training. I was literally told that I had to wear different clothes to work. And, you know, coming from India, I was used to wearing bright colors and lots of jewelry.
The IBM uniform.
And for about 2 to 3 years, I literally stuck to the uniform. I abandoned what I was feeling comfortable in to be someone else, to be successful at work. And, you know, slowly you gain confidence and you start to change those paradigms in your own head. Now, when I talk to girls, whether it's in college or schools, I absolutely tell them you can be successful in having an amazing career in technology and be who you want to be. I think that's the message we need to send.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the challenge of norming, but certainly for me growing up, I know I was fortunate to have parents who were scientists and technologists, so I understood how technology could do
Your mom was too?
both. Could do great good in the world. So I always understood technology as an enabler and a power to help people. And I felt a lot of my friends wanted to pursue careers that would help people. They wanted to be doctors because they understood how that would help people. They wanted to be teachers because they understood how that would help people. That technology would help people it wasn't as direct of a connection for them. But now I think because of the pervasiveness of technology, that we all have these computers in our pockets and the way we're using them so much more integrated as a part of our lives, I think that message of it's so critical for girls and for women to create technology, not just use technology, but to create the technology, because it's a way for us to be able to help people in the ways that we particularly bring what's unique about ourselves in general, not just our gender, but who we are as human beings, to really help change that landscape. So it's really, I think, that message is a really other critical message to communicate.
We are out of time. Tina is going to give me the hook. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Jeannine, Cynthia, Padmasree, an honor. It is now time to take a quick break, but you definitely want to be back here at 12 o'clock. Senator Gillibrand, John Krakauer, Kennedy O'Dede, my soul sister, Angelina Jolie. You don't want to miss it. So come back. And thank you, ladies. Thank you.